November, the world's most beloved puppy will embark on her first ever movie adventure.
Blue, we are definitely not in storybook world anymore. We're on our way. We're on our way. Blue's Clues in New York City. This is epic. Broadway, here we come. Blue, have you seen my handy dandy notebook? Without my handy dandy notebook, I think we're lost.
Just forgot his handy dandy notebook! If they're lost, we must go to New York City!
Have to help find them.
I know a guy.
You? Is that you? Josh and Blue are in New York City? They could be lost. This is a big deal.
I know! Remember what Josh always says?
We can do anything we want to do.
You can do anything you want to do.
You can do anything that you want to do.
That's what we always say.
Feel the music. Follow the clues.
A clue.
Follow that voice and follow that bark.
And make dreams come true.
It's him. It's Josh.
All they need
Now that's what I'm talking about.
is you.
We need to find Blue's Clues.
A clue.
Blue's Big City Adventure. Stream with your family November 18th.
A pretzel.
Really? Even gonna have some mustard? How are you? Good to see you.
Exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here with Talk About It Tuesdays, here with Conversations with Taz. Let's just jump into it. There's a lot to get into tonight, and if you missed it last night on Twitter, let me bring you up to speed, because Christian Walker, as always, had a lot to say, but for a lot of people, it was pretty shocking. Let's go through these first few videos, and then we'll go through his statement from, I guess you could call it a statement, from earlier today. See you in 2 minutes.
Fathers, it would be great if you stayed home and raised your kids instead of ran off to bang a bunch of women who weren't your baby mama. Stay home and raise your freaking kids. Your kids need a father. Get back home. Get back home. If you take out your thing and you get a woman pregnant, guess what? The party days are over. The acting foolish days are over. You go get a freaking job and you support your new family. Get home. Raise your kids. Kids need a man in the house raising them. They need a good dad. They need a loving father. And while you're out taking shots of vodka and tequila, living your high life, your kid is suffering. Get home.
Y'all, what the fuck is happening tonight? Literally, I come back to Twitter after watching the Try Guys video. Freaking Christian Walker airing out his daddy. Went to his Twitter page to see it was real. Baby, he airing out everything. And then you got this story from the New York Post. His pro-life ass paid for his girlfriend's abortion. And they got all the receipts. Lord! After you watch what Christian Walker had to say back in May about pro-choice women and abortion, I'll be back to show you what he had to say today on his Twitter account.
In order to get an abortion, you do have to get banged. So all of the blue hair pro-choice protesters don't need to worry much about abortions. Sorry, I just had to say that. So a couple things. It's easy to give something up when you don't have it. It's easy to give up shopping when you're broke, like we all are under Joe Biden. So for everyone saying they're going on a sex strike, were you getting any to begin with, ma'am? Because it doesn't look like it. It looks like you've been in the drive-through. Not in the drive up to his house category. More the I'll take a 10-piece fried chicken. It looks like that's where you've been.
I know my mom and I would really appreciate if my father Herschel Walker stopped lying and making a mockery of us. You're not a family man when you left us to bang a bunch of women, threatened to kill us, and had us move over 6 times in 6 months, running from your violence. I don't care about someone who has a bad past and takes accountability. But how dare you lie and act as though you're some moral, Christian, upright man? You've lived a life of destroying other people's lives. How dare you? Every family member of Herschel Walker asked him not to run for office because we all knew some of his past. Every single one. He decided to give us the middle finger and air out all his dirty laundry in public, while simultaneously lying about it. I'm done. And I will end with this. There are several people on Christian Walker's Twitter page pleading with him to stop what he is doing. And this one in particular wants him to wait until after the election. Pretty please?
Ooh, she brought the motherfucking receipts. She brought the receipts. You guys, $575 receipt from the abortion clinic, a get well card from Walker, and a $700 personal check from Walker. Herschel Walker paid her to get an abortion. Mr. I want a 10-year-old to carry her rapist baby. Did that.
A woman who wishes to not be identified contacted the Daily Beast. She has proof that Herschel Walker, a wife beater, paid her to terminate her pregnancy. Evidence includes a $575 receipt from the clinic, a $700 bank deposit from Walker, and a get well card. Just in case anyone needs a refresher, Herschel Walker is running on the Republican ticket against Raphael Warnock in Georgia. He is running as anti-choice. For the record, Raphael Warnock, despite being a reverend, is pro-choice. Also for the record, Herschel Walker beat his wife and threatened to unalive her. We have police reports proving that. We have even more proof now that Herschel Walker and the Republican Party is nothing more than rotting fecal matter that has been baking in the sun for 3 days and has been pissed on by every dog in the local neighborhood and the town drunk.
Now, before we get into Christian Walker's statement from earlier today, going to thedailybeast.com, pro-life Herschel Walker paid for girlfriend's abortion. We're using the term girlfriends loosely here because we have no confirmation. But Herschel Walker, the football legend now running for Senate in Georgia, says he wants to completely ban abortion, likening it to murder and claiming there should be no exception for rape, incest, or the life of the mother. But the Republican candidate has supported at least one exception for himself. A woman who has asked not to be identified out of privacy concerns told the Daily Beast that after she and Walker conceived a child while they were dating in 2009, he urged her to get an abortion. The woman said she had the procedure and that Walker reimbursed her for it. He couldn't even pay her up front for it? That must have been an awkward receipt exchange. She supported these claims with a $575 receipt from the abortion clinic, a get well card from Walker, and a bank deposit receipt that included an image of a signed $700 personal check from Walker. Oh. So he didn't just pay for it, he paid her to do it. The woman said there was a $125 difference because she ballparked the cost of an abortion after Googling the procedure and added on expenses such as travel and recovery costs. Additionally, the Daily Beast independently corroborated details of the woman's claims with a close friend she's told at the time and who, according to the woman and friend, took care of her in the days after the procedure. He didn't even take care of her? The woman said Walker, who was not married at the time, told her it would be more convenient to terminate the pregnancy, saying it was not the right time for him to have a child. It was a feeling she shared, but what she didn't know was that Walker had an out-of-wedlock child with another woman earlier that same year. Yeah, he had 3 out-of-wedlock children. Well, let's get into the statement this morning from Christian Walker, and I think it's so ironic that someone who's always criticizing the Black community and appears to be so anti-Black is wearing a Bel Air hoodie. If you're not familiar with the Bel Air line, think Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Yeah, that Bel Air.
I stayed silent as the atrocities committed against my mom were downplayed. I stayed silent when it came out that my father, Herschel Walker, had all these random kids across the country, none of whom he raised. And you know my favorite issue to talk about is father absence. Surprise, because it affected me. That's why I talk about it all the time, because it affected me. Family values, people. He has 4 kids, 4 different women, wasn't in the house raising one of them. He was out having sex with other women. Do you care about family values? I was found lie after lie after lie. The abortion card drops yesterday. It's literally his handwriting in the card. They say they have receipts, whatever. He gets on Twitter. He lies about it. Okay, I'm done. Done. Everything has been a lie. And so for the right to say I'm being suspicious for saying, hey, I'm done with the lies, when you all have been calling me saying, is this true about your dad? Gosh, we're not going to win Georgia, this candidate, all. That's been you. You have no idea what I've been through in my life. You have no.
I'm pausing this right here for a second because Herschel Walker is a staunch Republican that we found out after his apparent love for Trump, which Christian Walker seems to share with his father. But if you watch any of their time together on camera, the body language says a lot. And we talked about this over the past year. Christian Walker has some fear of his father. Given Herschel Walker's past, quite understandable. And we know that a lot of abused children seem to want the approval of their abuser and have a closeness and a tightness to them. But Christian, you ran right into the point. These people don't care about you or the fact that your father is knowingly lying. They care about the polling and the winning. But let us continue.
No idea what me and my mom have survived. We could have ended this on day one. We haven't. I haven't told any stories. I'm just saying, don't lie. Don't lie on my mom. Don't lie on me. Don't lie on the lives you've destroyed and act like you're some moral family man. Y'all should care about that, conservatives. And then for people on the left to act as though I'm responsible for all of the things that he has done.
Another pause. No one on the left is holding Christian Walker responsible for the sins of his father. What people are holding Christian Walker accountable for are the egregious talking points that he regurgitates on a daily basis. His closed-mindedness and his willingness to align with a party that doesn't align with his lifestyle, that he is willing to presumably vote, because we don't know how he actually votes when he gets in the voting booth, and encourage other people to vote against their best interest, has nothing to do with his father. Zero. We know that Christian Walker is a victim. Question is he just now realizing he's a victim to the GOP, or has he realized that yet? And there's a lot more on my thoughts on the audio podcast that's right before this one and on the blog post. All of those are linked in the description of this video, as usual. Let's keep it rolling.
I've talked about father. I've talked about these issues because they've been close to me, because they matter to me, because I went through it. That's why I've talked about it. So when you say, well, talk about your dad, but I'm saying this behavior is
Christian, I picked up a long time ago that technically you were talking about your father, but you weren't naming him. You were leaving it a broad scope while still giving him your endorsement and your support. So that's why people are confused right now and questioning if you're being hypocritic or if you've really had enough at this point. You haven't technically talked about your father. You talked about issues that have affected you in your life, but you really haven't been as transparent as you're claiming that you have been. You were more transparent last night on Twitter than you've been with any of us since your meltdown about moving to Florida.
atrocious. Don't come for me. You don't have to like my followers. You don't have to like me. You don't have to. I'm just saying I'm done with the lies. We were told at the beginning of this he was going to get ahead of his past, hold himself accountable, all of these different things, and that would have been fine. Go ahead. He didn't do any of that. Everything's been a lie. Everything's been downplayed. Everything's been cutting.
But here's one thing that I will hold you accountable for, Christian. Even before your father was running for Senate as a Trumplican, you made the claim that your father was always accepting of you, your lifestyle, and the fact that you chose cheerleading over football. Body language in that video determines that's a lie. And everything that you're saying currently regarding your father, which I'm inclined to believe you, it is your story to tell, but it determines your previous statements were a lie. And at this point, while you're talking about accountability and being open and honest and not lying, Don't ask for something from someone else if you're not giving it yourself. But let's wrap this video up.
The whole thing. And whose expense is that at? Me, my mom, as we're chased down by the media, we're terrorized, all these different things. People are questioning my authenticity. I'm done. Don't lie. Don't put this on me.
No, the sins of your father should not be put on you. But also, Christian, you put yourself in the center of this from the very beginning. You created a platform off of being loud and flamboyant and opinionated. So a lot of this people chasing you down really has nothing to do with your father. A lot of times when you're chased down, it's because of the things that come out of your mouth where people are like, whoa. So you're already a victim in this situation. No need to try to further center yourself and further victimize yourself. Now, on a bit of a lighter note, let's revisit this whole new MAGA dating app. You all should get a kick out of this. Let's watch these 3 videos and we'll come back and talk.
I joined a conservative dating app so you guys could see what it's like. I don't know if you remember this commercial.
To announce a dating app for all of us conservatives.
I waited on the waitlist for months for this. At first, the dating app was just like anything else. It asked for my hometown, and I was pretty shocked that it included most religious beliefs. It asked my gender, but it didn't ask what gender I'm attracted to. Also, this is my profile. My name is Beth. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm Muslim, and I live, laugh, love. Now here's where the dating prompts got a little weird. Random fact I love about America. Favorite liberal lie. January 6th was... Let me know if you guys want a part 2 of my experience.
I'm gonna read you some of the first reviews of the viral conservative dating app, The Right Stuff. 1 star, do not support this app. Okay, app asks about January 6th. Harmless, right? I said I was there because I was. I'm a patriot. That's why I'm on this dating app. I use this app for hardly an evening, and is it a coincidence I get a call from an FBI agent the same day? Seriously, what stunt are they trying to pull? Whoever developed this has to be deep state setting us up. I came here to find love, not a warrant. Not someone admitting to a federal crime in the comments section. I am divorced and waiting for my other allied friends to be divorced so I can meet some Trumpettes on this app. Why do your other friends need to be divorced for you to meet people on the app? The rest of these 1-star reviews, which are the vast majority of them, are all just people pointing out that you can only make an account by invite only, which makes sense to me because conservatives love exclusion.
So as you guys may know, I made a dating profile on the conservative dating app, The Right Stuff. The app looks like this, and a lot of conservatives were very unhappy with me. I thought any press is good press, but they said I was hurting their safe space. So as an apology, I'm going to read you the reviews of the dating app from actual conservatives, so you won't be fed any more fake news from me. Douglas wrote, I love my country, I love the Second Amendment, and I love God. These days it's hard to find a woman who values my patriotism, my faith, and so after being ghosted by every match on Tinder, I decided to give this app a try. I created my profile, uploaded a selfie of me sitting in my truck with sunglasses, and it worked great. The interface was intuitive and easy to use, but the weird thing is, I couldn't find any women on it. I don't know, maybe the app is bugged. I tried switching my preferences to men just to make sure it was working, and loads of handsome men came up. I hope the developers fix this. Again, Douglas's words, not mine. No hate, just love. No hate. No bullying, no hate, no love. Just peace.
Okay, my question since this was first advertised was how is it exclusively going to be invite only? Because who's the first round of people that are going to be in there to invite people? Like, are they just going to, like, since one guy saw a bunch of men come in and men have to pay a subscription and women don't, is this just another grift? Because there is another conservative dating app with the same name. Just throwing that out there. As you all know, there have been some horrendous stories coming out surrounding the most recent hurricane, Ian. Many lives lost, property damage, etc. But here's one caveat that's not getting a lot of attention in the news, and that's the fact that they've abandoned inmates. There was also a juvenile facility that was left with juveniles locked up in it, but I didn't want to show that video. But here's a look at the cold hard truth of what it's like living in America.
Nobody in the queue. How we supposed to get help if there ain't nobody in the queue? Nobody in the queue, man. How we supposed to get help?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, like I told you all last week, the GOP is doing a lot of dirty deleting where they're distancing themselves from the overturning of Roe v. Wade because, like I keep telling you all, this was just supposed to be their quintessential everlasting talking point. That minority of people who were truly agreeing with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, they really have some egregious views. Now, I'm going to play you two videos. One is a woman who has such an egregious view. The second one is a young man who is the product of his mother being raped and not being afforded an abortion.
I can't believe that you would force victims of rape and incest to give birth.
And I can't believe you think a rapist deserves more rights and dignity afforded to him than you think an unborn human baby. Because you do. Because a rapist is going to get due process, he's going to get a lawyer, he's going to get a fair trial, and after he's been convicted, his rights can be taken away. But you think that an unborn child should be executed without any of that. And you've been all the way to outer space, but you think females like me are forcing other females to give birth? You do realize that abortion is forced birth. It's just to a dead baby, right? I actually don't believe in the rape exception because I don't believe that we should be able to discriminate against women like Eartha Kitt and violently kill them. And as abortion doctor Warren Hearn noted, who literally wrote the textbook on it, abortion isn't an adequate treatment for rape. Women deserve support, women deserve counseling, but transferring her abuse onto another victim won't undo what happened. But I do think it's interesting when people use this aggressive language, even against other females, as if we're somehow complicit or compliant in the action. Just because we believe a woman and her child both deserve the equal right to not be violently aggressed upon.
Hi there, my name's Sean. I am the victim of your forced birth agenda. I was forced birth. My mother was raped. And do you know what my life was like? Let me explain here what it was like. There was nonstop abuse and trauma and neglect. There was the constant reminders that I would never be enough. I could never be enough. Nothing I do would ever be enough to make my mother love me. It also would never erase the fact that my father was a rapist. And I got to deal with that every single day until my younger brother was born. And then it got even worse because I got to see what a child who was actually wanted, how they were treated. And then there was more trauma. And when my adopted dad decided to commit suicide, then I got to deal with my mom becoming a prostitute and her jobs raping me. Yeah, it was a great fucking life. Because forced birth asshats like you think they can speak for people who were in my situation. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So, keep the victims, the children, name out of your mouth because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
He's not the only one with stories like that. There are children who were not the product of rape, but their mothers were forced to give birth by family members who also did not want to take on those children, but kept telling those children to be thankful that they were alive while they were treated like crap, while there wasn't money or resources to properly maintain those children. And just so you know, life begins at first breath. Doesn't matter what religion you attribute yourself to, nor medically. It is not a baby. A clump of cells that cannot sustain itself outside of the mother is not a baby. It is a parasite. And I have 4 children of my own, and yes, I'm saying that. And to say that, oh, a rapist is given due process. Isn't it amazing that these forced birthers will change language and change the definition of words? She's aligning herself with the rapist, not the victim. Going, oh yeah, I know you were traumatized, but be further traumatized by looking in the face of a child created from violence against you as a woman. Now, before we go into this next story, just keep in mind tomorrow there will be a pre-recorded show. Sorry, I was not able to get with you all yesterday regarding the Monday show. We are going to continue to go through with the Espionage Act of 1917, and there are some things that happened in the news that I'm going to weave into this lesson to break it down further for you. But you all are familiar with Caitlyn Jenner, right? The trans woman who is now a staunch Republican. Let's look at what she's doing over on the Twitter sphere. Well, actually, hold on. Let's not get to that because Trump's America is also trending online. I forgot I did not put these up here because I don't want to further traumatize anyone, but let's read through these. Caitlyn Jenner. We cannot have biological boys with penises changing next to our daughters in locker rooms and then have our daughters scolded by the school. This is so backwards. Shame on Vermont. Let me reiterate, Caitlyn Jenner is a trans woman. This rhetoric is harmful to her. But shout out to King Charles on Twitter who responded, not everyone has hundreds of thousands of dollars to literally get the operation needed to identify how they feel. And also, not everybody wants to do that. Gender is not physical. It has nothing to do with your genitalia. Maybe make access to getting operations cheaper so that boys with penises can become the beautiful women they want to become, or vice versa. And Tina Banks says, as one trans woman to another, what do you suggest that happens? Do you feel that young trans girls change in the boys' room? How do you then deal with any bullying or psychological damage done to these trans kids? Here's my thing. What are y'all doing when you go to the bathroom? What are y'all doing when you go to the bathroom? Because when I go into a bathroom, whether it's a gender neutral bathroom, a family bathroom, I'm not looking around for people. And everybody is freaking out. But think about all the places that have existed as far back as you can remember that have gender neutral bathrooms. Like if you get on an airplane, there's not a men's room or a ladies' room. It's just a bathroom. You had no problem when we started getting family bathrooms. I've been in establishments that since they've been constructed have all just had gender neutral bathrooms because they're single stalls. And to maximize space for clientele and customers, that's just what they have. Like, what are you really doing when you walk into a bathroom? Are you standing there trying to do a genitalia check? Because all my life, having brothers, having male friends, everything, there's been long-standing jokes that you go in, eyes straight forward, do what you got to do. Like now all of a sudden, y'all looking over and peeking through stuff. Like, but now on to what's trending on Twitter. Here we go. Trump's America. Mayo says Trump's America was actually Putin's America. Wendy Democrat Patriot says COVID-19 deaths, inflation, weak economy, online school, lockdown, high gas prices, hate crimes, white supremacy, Putin empowered wars, North Korea missile launching, dictators praised, Americans divided. I'm so glad that Donald Trump is no longer in the White House. Are you? And Representative Jim Jordan said, do you feel safe in Joe Biden's America? Bet MC said, absolutely. I didn't in Trump's America. Linda Straffen says, Trump's America turned this country into a shithole. It's going to take decades to claw ourselves out of the swamp. And if we can't, say goodbye to to life as we know it. Last call for democracy. Supporting this traitor makes you a traitor. Absolutely. 888 Good Troubles. Trump's America was a big circus. Unfortunately, when the circus left town, a bunch of clowns stayed. Vote them all out. Times out of joint. Trump's America is a cesspool of lies, small town ignorance masquerading as authenticity, bigotry posing as patriotism, and the vicious rise of Christian fascism that is in every way the exact opposite of Jesus' teaching. No lies detected there. Arbus, Truth Social, former President Clarence Thomas, Trump's America, Death DeSantis, Typical Republican, Mary Trump, Donald J. Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump, Kevin McCarthy, Mark Meadows, Sotomayor, defamation. And the meme speaks for itself. And then the real defender said, I'll take Trump's America over Biden's America any day. And Denise comes back with Trump's America. Who overthrew the Capitol? Muslims? No. Mexicans? No. It's supposed to be LGBT, but militants? No. Black Lives Matter? No. Socialists? No. Antifa, which is simply an ideology? No. White Trump supporters. Memes speak for themselves. Only in Trump's America, when you accidentally wash your KKK robe with your MAGA hat. And just to drive the point home, there's an oath keeper that's currently under trial. Let's take a look at how that's...
All right. Check this out. Okay, so this guy, leader of the Oath Keepers, his defense for why he should not be found guilty, he says that, no, you can't find me guilty, because the reason that we were there is to be prepared for when Trump said and invoke the Insurrection Act. Okay? So he thought, and he says, that Trump was supposed to call them up to take over. And he never did. So he can't be found guilty for insurrection. Yo, you can't make this stuff up. You can't. It's...
Now remember their original cover story, it was that Black Lives Matter and Antifa were dressed up along with the libtards as Trump supporters. Now it's, oh, we should have brought rifles. Oh, we should have brought more of this. Oh, I can't be charged with this because Trump didn't invoke X, Y, and Z, but he did call for a self-coup. You still broke the law. You still engaged in an insurrection violently. And on that day, you weren't very back the blue. Now, Christian Walker was not the only one showing his whole tail last night. Once again, Kanye West is in the news. And don't forget, if you like this podcast, be sure to share it, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you're kept up to date on all of the posts. And as always, make sure you check out the links that are in the description of this video.
I am not black, nor do I consider myself to be black. Many people mistake me for being Negro because they don't know that I am currently living with the heartbreak of revitiligo. That's a skin condition that's the opposite of what Michael Jackson's got. Ever moaning out.
Kanye West does not care about black people. Hi, my name is Pablo, and to quote my friend Shaheem, I'm wishing Kanye nothing but the worst. Listen, I have no problem with Kanye West wearing whatever the fuck he wants to wear. I have no problem with him having an opinion on the state of politics right now. But at this point, it's clear that he's using the division within the country to draw attention to himself and his shitty ass clothes. Now, most people like you and I know that midterm season is upon us. Democrats are dangerously close to losing both the House and the Senate. And this is just my theory, but I believe the GOP is breaking off Kanye a little piece just to do some low-key marketing. And I say that because look at who he's with. And if you don't know, that's Candace Owens, another black paid representative of the GOP. The biggest issue with him wearing this shirt isn't even really that it will upset black people, because we all know it will. But it's the fact that he knows the influence and power he has over a lot of white young men, and how his antics will embolden their racism. It's annoying and it's shameful, but most importantly, it's dangerous.
Now, before we get into my take on this, I do have two articles we're going to go through briefly. Coming from complex.com, Kanye West wears White Lives Matter t-shirt design at Yeezy Season 9 presentation. The artist formerly known as Kanye West wore a t-shirt emblazoned with the phrase White Lives Matter on the back while addressing attendees at his Yeezy Season 9 presentation in Paris on Monday. Of course he would take it to Paris. Let's not forget some of the caricatures in some of their more recent years magazines. Ye, who was also wearing his pair of previously headlined diamond-studded flip-flops, was spotted in the shirt early into the live stream experience. At the time of this writing, a detailed look at a full design of the t-shirt in question had not been disclosed, although the front does feature Pope John Paul II photo collage. Several models in the presentation were also seen wearing variations of the same design. Now, coming from people.com, Kanye West wears White Lives Matter shirt at his Yeezy Season 9 fashion show in Paris. Kanye West wore a shirt featuring the words White Lives Matter during his Yeezy Season 7 event at Paris Fashion Week Monday. The artist, who allegedly changed his name to Ye, sparked controversy in his black long-sleeve tee with a statement which is considered a hate slogan, because it is, by the Anti-Defamation League. The look could be seen on full display Monday as the designer gave a speech during the opening of the presentation. It was also featured in an image uploaded to Twitter by conservative commentator Candace Owens, who wore the same shirt in white to the show. The front of the top featured Pope John Paul II and the words meaning, "We will follow your example." How much more egregious could it be? But Kanye West is the same man who said that slavery was a choice. So I guess your estranged wife, Kim Kardashian, was treating you like a mental patient, keeping you away from your children as a choice. The fact that you wrote the song Gold Digger and then married the most iconic and well-known gold digger on the planet was a choice. The fact that you went into a predatory contract with Adidas was a choice. But my question with all of this, were the All Lives Matter people? Because those were the people who had a problem with the slogan Black Lives Matter, when we were simply reminding you that we matter and that we are human and that we are not to be used as target practice. So where are they? And to use a slogan that we will follow your example, bootlicking at its finest. See, it's coons like this that really think that if they bow down to colonizers, that they'll get a seat at the table. Baby, historically, they have shown us we will either be the meal at the table, the stuffing for the seat, the dentures from which they use to eat, or the table itself. Or we'll just be there to serve the table, as you are still doing right now. And if you think I'm joking, let's take a look at this next nugget. Because I'm sure you wouldn't think Aretha Franklin and the FBI in one statement. But maybe now you should.
So y'all see how the FBI was tracking and monitoring Aretha Franklin for over 40 years, right? This is part of the reason why destructive black music is heavily commercialized and promoted so much. They knew the power Aretha had with her voice and her reach, so they tried to circumvent it as much as possible. And when you consider the fact that we use drums to plan revolts to the fact that it was banned, it makes sense. And when you consider the fact that we also use songs to escape from enslavement, it makes sense. See, it's never just been music with us. So them tracking Aretha makes a lot of sense because she was all about us. She was all about her people. So my question to black music artists out there today is your music helping free us or keep us in bondage?
You know, this is giving J. Edgar Hoover vibes. And he was just trying to hide his black ancestry and his homosexuality. But coming from Rolling Stone, Aretha Franklin was tracked by the FBI for 40 years. Here's what's in her file. From 1967 to 2007, the Federal Bureau of Investigation methodically collected information about Aretha Franklin using false phone calls, surveillance, infiltration, and highly placed sources, according to the documents obtained in September by Rolling Stone. Franklin's FBI file, the first requested in via the Freedom of Information Act on August 17, 2018, is 270 pages long, peppered with phrases like black extremist, pro-communist, hate America, radical, racial violence, and militant black power, and overflowing with suspicion about the singer, her work, and other activities and entertainers with whom she spent time. Sounds about how they got the Sedition Act, the Espionage Act, the Mann Act passed. Told you, there's nothing new in this country. Some documents are heavily redacted, and others indicate that there may be additional materials in the FBI's possession. Rolling Stone has requested the FBI make available any and all additional records. I'm not really sure if my mother was aware that she was being targeted by the FBI and followed. I do know that she had absolutely nothing to hide, though. Aretha Franklin's son, Kekaf Franklin, tells Rolling Stone. Born in Memphis in 1942 and raised in Detroit, young Aretha Franklin sang in the gospel choir where her father, Clarence L. Franklin, was a minister and civil rights activist, and she followed in his footsteps. Franklin's work on behalf of civil rights and her association with Martin Luther King Jr., Angela Davis, and other social justice revolutionaries became a preoccupation of the FBI, with the singer's addresses, phone numbers, and activities regularly tracked by agents, according to the documents obtained by Rolling Stone. Quick pause here. The United States keeps trying to sell us this myth, this fantasy that racism is dead, everybody is equal, there's equity everywhere. So why do you keep putting us under surveillance for wanting equity? Because you keep bombing us. You keep burning our developments down. You keep hindering us with redlining, blockbustering, etc., etc. But I digress. Along with all surveillance, the FBI documents contain letters and reports of death threats against Franklin. In 1974, for example, she received this ominous letter. Dear Aretha, I'm still in charge of you. I'm not to be crossed. You should be paying me some of my money. Evidently, your advisors do not know the dangers of neglecting what I'm saying. I would hate to drag your father into this. Oh, that's why. Extortion. How apple pie, baseball, and hot dogs of you. In 1979, 4 months after her father was shot in Detroit, she received yet another threat from a man who said he was going to kill her and her family. In a separate incident, files show an extortion attempt against Franklin. Information about the suspects in these incidents has been redacted. Isn't it always? But they'll tell you in their history books that it's black on black crime, as if that's a thing. It's proximity crime, and white people kill each other quicker. The FBI declined several requests to comment for this article. Among the documents obtained by Rolling Stone, some of which are newly declassified, is a 1968 document discussing funeral plans for Martin Luther King Jr., calling it a racial situation. It further notes Sammy Davis Jr., Aretha Franklin of this group. Some have supported militant Black Power concept performance at MLK Memorial by the prominent entertainers would provide emotional spark which could ignite racial disturbance in the area. Then maybe you should have kept that doctor from suffocating Dr. King to death in the hospital after he was shot. Maybe you shouldn't have influenced and infiltrated his inner sanctum in order to get him set up to be shot. Could you think of a better way to handle that? Like, sweetheart, even during the antebellum period, when you were using mercenaries to go over to the continent of Africa and kidnap us and bring us over. We had those of our own that would rather jump ship or sink the ship than come over here. Did you forget about the uprising of African slaves within Haiti, which led to their independence and the ending of slavery there? Did you forget about the revolts of Nat Turner and the Prossers? Did you forget about Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass's first wife? Because if she didn't exist, he wouldn't have existed. Did you forget about Harriet Tubman? Did you really think that we were just going to sit back and take it? See, a lot of people mistakenly say that we are not our ancestors. Yes, we are, and more. They walked so that we could run, and we are running towards equity. You gotta be a... Well, let's go on. In one case, the FBI detailed her 1971 contract with Atlantic Records just in case agents could link Franklin's business dealings to the Black Panther Party. The same Black Panther Party that you took school lunches, school breakfasts from, community outreach, community watch from, food pantries, soup kitchens. I bet you that all sounds familiar to you. And you probably thought that some great white person in politics came up with it. Nope. Nope. Not even in the least. Now, before we move any further from one black woman making history and the FBI keeping an eye on them, to another black woman who not only has made history, but she's making waves, letting you know that she is going to stand up for her constituency regardless. Yes, I am talking about the newly appointed Associate SCOTUS, Ms. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Coming from NBC News, Justice Jackson makes waves in first Supreme Court arguments. As the Supreme Court on Tuesday weighed a conservative attempt to weaken the landmark Voting Rights Act enacted in 1965 to protect minority voters, the first black woman to serve on the Supreme Court delivered a history lesson on the divisive issue of race in the United States, as we knew she would. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, in just her second day on the bench, spoke about the enactment of the Constitution's 14th Amendment, stressing how its aim was to redress historic harms to black people in the aftermath of the Civil War and the end of slavery. It was a symbolic moment in a courtroom in which only 3 black justices have ever sat. Exploring the history that lurks in the background of the dispute over Alabama's congressional districts map, Jackson said that the entire point of the amendment was to secure rights of the freed former slaves. As a result, she wondered how could the state be barred from considering race when deciding whether more majority black districts should be drawn, especially when it comes to southern states. See, they're considering race, but they're considering race on the opposing side in order to continuously suppress the vote of black people. They know how powerful our vote is. This is why they keep trying to indoctrinate you and convince you that your vote doesn't matter. You have so many exclusively ignorant black people like, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to vote. Then why wallow in poverty? Why wallow in despair? And why complain when things do not get better and we are still fighting for equity when you are not doing the bare minimum, which is casting a vote? Like, seriously. Make it make sense, people. Now I'm going to close out with this, because I'm getting sick of y'all online. I do not care who plays what character, because they will ugly down a woman to play a villain, but they will sexy up a real life villain, a horrendous person, when it is a man. If you find yourself in alignment or feeling sorry for Jeffrey Dahmer, just say you hate black people and say that you are homophobic. Just say it. It's fewer words, takes less effort. Just get it off your chest and move forward. Now, the most egregious thing that I have come across is the following. Coming from blackenterprise.com. grief. Say what now? Lyfe Jennings recalls singing for Jeffrey Dahmer in prison. While many in the Black community are up in arms over Netflix's new series about Jeffrey Dahmer, singer Lyfe Jennings is recalling the time he shared in prison with the serial killer. Netflix Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, has been receiving strong responses from those who feel like the series romanticizes the American serial killer and sex offender who murdered and dismembered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991, with the series bringing to light that most of Dahmer's victims were Black. There were mixed reviews on if Black people should boycott the series. But there's one Black R&B singer who actually has fond memories of Dahmer from their time in prison together. Must Be Nice singer Lyfe Jennings took to Instagram over the weekend to share a 3-part story recalling his memories with Dahmer. Jennings' real name, Chester Germain, happened to be in prison at the same facility as Dahmer in 1993 and recalls a serial killer being mesmerized by the singer's voice and asked him to sing Mint Conditions' hit Breaking My Heart, Pretty Brown Eyes. Lyfe, you telling a lot more about yourself than you really are about Dahmer, because we know Dahmer had a type. In a second video, Jennings recalled how Dahmer traded things for cigarettes, like people's mental stability. Jennings said he worked as a porter during his prison stint and was responsible for cleaning the railings and floor by mopping and sweeping. He did his work while singing tunes which caught Dahmer's attention. A lot of times, prisoners used to have requests when I was down there, Lyfe said. One particular day, I walked past Jeff and he said, "Hey, that's you down there singing?" After telling the serial killer that he was the man behind the soulful voice, he recalls Dahmer telling him how much he liked R&B music. Dude, he was flirting with you. The pair had cells right next to each other. Of course they did. When singing the Mint Condition song request, Jennings says Dahmer showed his approval by banging on the cell. For those who think Jennings is lying to gain clout, the singer told everyone to look at the receipts that prove he and Dahmer were incarcerated in the same prison at the same time. Sadly, Dahmer was probably fantasizing about Jennings, given the serial killer's affection for Black men. Let me give you a caveat. The man who subsequently killed Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer himself, and he admitted that part of the reason why he was drawn to end Jeffrey Dahmer's life is because Jeffrey Dahmer was known to antagonize people in prison. He would fashion his food on his tray in a way to look like a human carcass. He would antagonize people, especially Black people. And Lyfe Jennings right now is the ultimate example of all skin folk and kinfolk. And all I can say is be thankful that there were armed guards around and he wasn't able to, unless he did get to you, Lyfe. Maybe you were the exception and he didn't become violent towards you because you actually reciprocated what he wanted. Or maybe it's just because he didn't have his camera with him. Could it be? Could it be? But as always, thank you for joining me here with Conversations with Taz. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And I'm going to leave y'all with a little nugget that's less egregious than everything else we discussed last night. And be sure to join me tomorrow. We'll get into it with Taz and Chris. We have a lot of sports-related things to go over because there was actually a record that was matched and broken today. So, till tomorrow.
Soon-to-be ex-husband of the potential pipe bomber on January 6th today moved to withdraw his request to have their divorce sealed. And he's made this move at the same time that midterms are approaching and potential criminal investigations are going to begin. Here is a non-authorized copy of the motion he filed today to withdraw his request for the divorce to be sealed. I'm starting to wonder what kind of Easter eggs are going to be in these divorce proceedings because I'm here for it, right? I mean, affairs, lying, stealing, trying to overthrow the United States government, putting her children at risk, potentially for committing espionage against her own country. Scott Pelley with 60 Minutes. You should interview this guy immediately before the midterm elections. The inquiring minds need to know what the fuck.